Hello friends, welcome back to Havron Excel tutorial. Like we said at the beginning of the series, we have about 9 to 10 videos that we will be making. We've already done advantages of tables, and now we will be doing introduction to pivot tables and its uses. And one of the uses is to summarize. So we'll be doing these two together. Okay. So we will come to here. We use this to summarize. What are pivot tables? Pivot tables are a tool. It is a tool in Excel that helps user to analyze data, to manipulate data, to transform, to summarize, to sort, to filter, to reorganize. It's a very powerful tool that was introduced some years back in one of the latest, the earlier versions of Excel. And with the help of pivot table, you have flexibility in managing your data. Okay, so in this video, we want to see how we can use pivot table to summarize a huge database. The one we have on the screen now is not really much. It's about 421 records. It could be larger than this. In our subsequent videos, we will be using data table that is close to 1,000 or above that, and then we'll see how simple it is to use pivot table to manage such a huge database. All right, so in our summary, that is to summarize using pivot table, we have these questions that we will be solving out of this database. So here we have the staff of this organization, several of them, about 5 or so. Here we have the states that they are covering. Here we have the account of the customers in each of the states. Here we have the order that each of these staff was able to generate, and these are the dates. All right, so when we have such a huge database, some questions might come and say, how many states are in the table? In other words, how many states do we have their reports in here? You could be there sometime and your boss will say, please, I want to see all the states that submitted report within this period. And then you want to know how many staff submitted reports within this period that this table is covering. And then we want to see how many times did each state submit reports. Like we say, each of these rows represent a record. And so we want to find out how many times each state submitted reports. Question number 4, what is the total order generated by each staff? Here are the staff. They are all here. And then we want to find out for each of these, what is the total order generated? What is the total order for each state? Now, our interest is now on the states. We want to find out what is the total order generated. Like for instance, this is Enugu, this is Lagos, and then somewhere else we see Enugu, and then we see Benue, we see Kanu, and I think that's about all. Okay, now we see FCT. All right, so they are all scattered like this. So we want to find out what is the total order for each state. And then finally, we will be looking at the order of each month. What is the total order generated in each month? Okay, so when we finish, it's going to look like this. These are the questions and the answers using pivot table. You will agree that pivot table is very, very useful in summarizing. For instance, this is question 1. How many states are in the table? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is 5 states that submitted reports that occupied 421 records. And then in question number 2, how many staff submitted reports in the table? So this will give us unique answers to them. So I will set about doing this. I can tell you it's a very easy step to follow. All right, so first of all, let me use my auto fit to reduce this. All right, so what we need to do is to insert our pivot table. To insert our pivot table, we can come up here. We click this insert. It opens up the commands under insert. And here at the extreme left, we have our pivot table. We click this, and then this dialog box comes up. This table is recognized as table 142. In our previous video, we mentioned that we could actually rename this table. Okay, so here it is table 142. And then let's see if it covers all the table. Okay, so it did. All right, so we are good to go with this. The next thing we do is, where do we want the pivot table to be inserted? Well, for beginner, it's always good to choose the new worksheet just the way it is selected at default. However, for what we want to do, because of these questions here, I'm going to choose to drop it here on the same sheet. All right, so I'm going to click this, that I want it to be dropped here. For new users, beginners, I will not advise you to put them on the same sheet that you have your table or other things, because there are some issues that you may run into that might cause you issues. All right, so but because I know those issues, I know how I'm going to avoid them, and I will be also letting us know those issues. All right, so this is where I am coming. So if I'm using my existing sheet, I'm going to choose the location. So let me pick here. I okay this, and then this comes up. All right, so let me just bring this. Okay, and let me move away. Right now, since I have created this table, I may not need to be looking at this. I do not have anything to do here, except I want to update this, my table. Okay, this is all I need, just this and this. Now, when you insert your pivot table, all this pivot field here, where you have at this top here, they are all the headers that you have on your table. Now, let's go by solving these questions one after the other. Number 1, how many states are in the table? All I need to do is click the state, and it comes here, the row here, by default, because state is a text field. So by default, when you click a text field, it goes right under the rows field. Now, let me use this opportunity to introduce to us these fields that are here. Okay, we have the filter here. This is where you drop whatever you want to filter. For instance, if I drop this thing here, that means I can decide to choose any of the states to display the corresponding record. Now, so by default, when you click any header that accepts text fields, they come under the row. Now, by default also, if you click any column header whose field is numbers, it goes directly here and it gives you the sum. For instance, we know that order here has money. It has numbers that can be added. So if I just click this order, it goes straight and gives me the sum. I may also decide to pull it out here and drop it here, and this is what it's going to give me. I may also decide to pull this state and drop it here. It is pivot. You change it to whichever direction you wish until you get what you want. All right, so right now we are very focused in our answer, in our search. We are looking at the states. So I could also just click this, drag it, and bring it down here. So I have my unique states. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 states. So these are all the states. Okay? Sorry. These are all the states that we have. Now, question number 2. How many staff submitted their reports? Now, I can do two of either things. If I want this answer to remain, I can simply copy it. Right now, I'm copying it. I'm dropping it here. Dropping this here, I can simply remove my state here, drag it off, and this turns to another pivot table that I have just copied. And so, since the question is talking about staff, I simply click staff and it goes straight to that point. Now, this is the staff that I have. Say how many staff submitted reports. So these are the staff whose reports were collected here. Now, let me use this to let us know some of the issues that may happen when you have multiple pivot table on the same sheet. You see, here I can build on this table so that it can get and overlap this particular one. And when that happens, it's an error. It will tell you that there is an error. For instance, if I want to get, this is the state, okay? If I want to get staff, say I want to get the staff on call, I'm going to have this problem because pivot table report cannot overlap another table report. So this is one of the issues, because if I go ahead, assuming there is nothing here, the staff will spread across here. But because it's going to overlap this, it's going to cause you a problem. Okay, the same thing if I have to generate a data, a summary that goes down here. If this were here, and then by the time this spreads to go and overlap the one below, it will give you the same error. All right, so usually when you have those ideas, you put them at the back of your mind while working. All right, so question number 3, how many times did each state submit reports? Okay, state, so this is my state. I'm going to copy this again. I'm copying this, I'm dropping it here right now. Now, to answer this question, I need to drag this again. I'm going to carry this state now and drop it into the value here. When you bring in a column that has text field, if you bring it to the value column here, it's going to give you count by default. So what I'm doing is I want a count because that's what the question says. How many times did each state? So what we're going to do is we are going to be bringing the count here. Benue will give us how many times, Enugu how many times. So I'm going to drag this state. Remember that this state is a text field, and by default it should come here. But because we are bringing it to under the value field, it's going to give me count. When I drop it, it gives me count of states. All right, so I now see that Benue submitted 15 times, Enugu 196 times, and each of these states giving you their respective count, how many times they submitted. All right, so when you see this, it's also adding up to the total number of records that we have in our table. Okay, so question number 4 says, what is the total order generated by each staff? So this is the staff here. So what I need to do, I need to copy this. Like I say, these are options that I am taking. Alternatively, I can go ahead and generate a new pivot table. But since I have the flexibility of using this, I'm going to use it. Okay. Let me close up this gap so that I can create more space on my right. All right. Okay, so here we are answering question number 4, right? Question of what is the total order? So for here now, I'm going to click order. Clicking order, it will bring it here directly under here by default because this order is a number field. So when I click this, it goes down there. So this is the total order generated by each staff You can see how easy pivot table is. Question number 4, what is the total order generated by each staff? So this is the total order generated by each staff. So the question number 5, what is the total order generated by each state? All right, so I have the state here. So why not copy this again? I copy this and I drop it here. Okay, so it's the same thing that we are going to do. We're simply going to click the order so that the order will go down here, and then we have the order for each state. All right, so each state, this is the Benue state, this is the order, Enugu, this is the order. So finally, what is the total order for each month? Okay, so like I said, I can use any of these. All right, so let me copy this and drop it here. Good. So right now, there's another flexibility I can use here. Since I have this order, see what's going to happen by the time I decide to change this to dates. Okay, so I'm removing this. Remember, the total is this 12 million. So when I remove this, 12 million is still there, and I'm bringing my date here. Okay, my date comes in here. Now, this brings us to another feature of pivot table where we can group. Okay, so but now let's focus on the question. The question is talking about each month, not each quarter. Now, because I grouped this into quarter, how do I know? When I click here, I can either right click here to open this group, and I'll see that my months, my quarters are selected. If I go ahead and include years, see what's going to happen here. I click this, the years come up. So year, and for each quarter, quarter 2, let's see, let's scroll down, quarter 3 and quarter 4. So, but our interest right now is on the months. So we can go back to the group, uncheck years, uncheck quarter, leaving months. When we click that, we have ungrouped. So we have this. Okay, so this answers our question. This for each of the months, these are the orders. Okay, so if I should go ahead and add one more feature, I can simply come here, do my right click, of course, pick my number format. I'm interested in currency. So let me go down and choose Naira because I'm in Nigeria, and let me not have any decimal place. When I click this, the entire column changes. Okay, so the same thing that will happen here. Now, I want to let us know also that you can format directly from here, but it's not advisable. See what has happened now. Okay, so I am going to format here, format my number. Let me go to currency. Let me go down here and pick my Naira. Let me choose this, none of this. And the moment I did one here, the rest shows. Unlike when you go to do only from the normal Excel formatting, here is only the one that you selected, the cell that you selected that gets formatted. All right, so this is one of the uses of pivot table. We use it to summarize. We use it to summarize. Okay, so I would like to repeat this briefly. What did we do? We clicked here and we went to insert. We have a pivot table here. When we clicked pivot table, it prompted us. It looked at what we selected and guessed that it could be this table range. And of course, that is our table range. And we went ahead to select yes. And the prompt was to get it onto a new worksheet. I said, yes, it is better to do it that way. But because of what we are doing currently, and I know how to avoid the issues when you paste it on the same sheet, I said, let's go ahead and use current worksheet. So we went ahead and clicked somewhere, and then we got it right. So I'm going to cancel this. And so while we selected that, we began to jiggle around. Okay, so what we did actually was here, we were pivoting our values. We have tried the different places trying to describe what each of these fields are. Okay, so where this field is for filter, we try to explain that we can actually put our filter here where we'll be using it to bring out to filter out any of the column headers here, like we see also here. Okay, so and we said that if you click any of this header, and if that header is a text field, automatically it comes down to this point. If it is a number, it comes out to this point to give you the sum of values. There are other things you can do under here. For instance, you can check for your average, you can check for maximum, and so on and so forth. Yes, as we go on with the pivot table series, we'll be able to bring out some other features that we can use Excel to apply in what we do. I hope you've enjoyed this video. In our next video, we'll be looking at sorting with pivot table. Okay? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.